From the beaches of Rio to the back streets of Sao Paulo, there is always some sort of game going on. This passion for the game has produced many champions. But there is only one man who is known as the king of football, Pele. In 1957, in his first full year with Santos, and at the age of 16, Pele became the Campeonato Paulista's highest scorer. He remained the league's top scorer for 9 consecutive years. The 1958 World Cup in Sweden, and immediately the young Pele was in Brazil's national team.
My first World Cup, I was 17 years old, was a beautiful history because 8 years before, Brazil lost for Uruguay, the World Cup in the 50s. And my father was crying, with a lot of Brazilians there. And then my father used to say, oh, men should be strong, men doesn't cry. Then I saw my father cry when Brazil lost the game. Then I told him, Father, no, don't worry, I'm gonna win one World Cup for you, don't worry. I was 9 to 10 years old. Then 8 years late, I was in Sweden with Brazil with 17 years old. Brazil won the World Cup. That's a gift for God because I don't know why I promised to my father.
It was Brazil's first World Cup, with Pele scoring twice in the final against the host nation. In 1962 in Chile, Brazil won the World Cup for a second time. By now, Pele, at the age of 21, was an international star, and he was targeted with rough treatment. After scoring in the first game against Mexico, injury limited his contribution. Just 4 months before his World Cup campaign in 1966, Pele and his new bride, Rosemary, arrived in Germany. So great was Pele's international reputation that the couple were dogged by journalists. But Europe was interested in Pele for other reasons. The top clubs had been trying to tempt him to play in Italy or Spain, but Brazil's national treasure was staying put at Santos. At the start of what they had hoped would be a private honeymoon, cameras and the press continued to be intrusive, placing enormous stress on their new marriage. Just one day after her wedding, Rosemary was discovering what it would be like sharing her life with a superstar. Soon Pele and Rosemary would have their first daughter, Kelly Cristina. The 1966 World Cup tournament was held in England, and having won the 2 previous cups, Brazil were the outright favourites. 6 of Pele's Santos teammates were in the Brazil squad. Lula, the Santos coach, had stopped likening Pele to other players, saying he was incomparable. Rival World Cup teams started focusing on Pele and the other Brazilian playmaker, Garrincha. In the group stage, Brazil were defeated by Hungary and Portugal in controversial circumstances. The English referees seemed to miss an unusually large number of fouls to the top Brazilian players. After an incident in the game against Portugal, Pele limped for the rest of the game. This was before the days of red and yellow cards. Brazil did not make it beyond the group matches. After the tournament, a disappointed Pele declared he would not play any more World Cup matches. So dazzling was Pele's on-field performance that he was dubbed O Rei, the King. An act of parliament was passed to prevent Pele being lured to Europe, and the Brazilian government ensured he was the most highly paid professional sportsman in the world. A wax effigy of Pele was displayed in London, and he found himself moving in exalted circles. To this day, heads of state and politicians are still keen to meet the legend. And because he was so widely known as the King, crowning ceremonies became part of Pele's ceremonial life. Museums around the world have different versions of Pele's crown. Now Santos were touring the world during breaks in the domestic season to play exhibition matches. The effect of these games was astonishing. During the Nigerian Civil War, a truce was declared so that people could safely see Pele play. The United Nations was starting to take notice, especially as Pele had an affinity with the young. But not all the exhibition matches were triumphs. A friendly game played at El Campan Stadium in Bogota resulted in a melee, with Pele being sent off. This sparked a riot in the crowd who had come to see Pele play. Officials sent the referee off and reinstated Pele. In November 1969, Pele had scored his 999th goal. And in an away game against Vasco da Gama, the crowd were keen to see the Molissimo, Pele's 1,000th goal. When Andrada, Vasco's Argentine goalkeeper, prevented Pele's first attempt, the crowd in Rio's Maracana Stadium were furious. Even Vasco da Gama fans. At halftime, Santos were down 1-0, and Pele remained scoreless. Vasco were desperate to prevent Pele scoring, with their full back even heading an own goal to keep Pele from his record. Scores were now level. But after Pele was brought down in front of goal, the referee pointed to the spot and history was made. 80,000 fans were jubilant. Both Vasco and Santos supporters acknowledged the king of football. High fences around the ground prevented spectators invading the pitch, but there were so many journalists and photographers there to record the moment that Pele was swamped. Across Brazil, people would remember where they were for the Molissimo. In Brazil, Pele was making a different type of contribution. President Fernando Henrique Cardoso appointed him to the position of Extraordinary Minister for Sport. He used this position to curb corrupt practices in Brazilian football administration, introducing legislation that became known as the Pele Law. Just before the 1998 World Cup in Paris, FIFA announced the World Football Team of the 20th century. Present to receive the honor were Carlos Alberto, the captain of Brazil's 1970 World Cup team, Nilton Santos, defender in 3 Brazilian World Cup sides, Alfredo Di Stefano from Argentina. He played for River Plate and Real Madrid before a successful coaching career. And of course, Pele, still regarded as the best ever. Other players nominated included Johan Cruyff, Franz Beckenbauer, Diego Maradona, and Michael Platini. After the ceremonies, Pele was keen to air his ideas about the future of the game.
What I fight, what I look is to the players participate more. What we like is a more democracy. I think Mr. Blatter knows that. Everybody wants to change. I think they're going to change.
Honours just keep flowing for Pele. When the streets outside London's Buckingham Palace were festooned with Brazilian flags, it was to mark the awarding of a knighthood to Pele for his humanitarian work. Pele was now an honorary Knight Commander of the British Empire, and he was mobbed the following day at a function at Chelsea's Stamford Bridge home. Representatives from the British government said they liked the enthusiasm that Pele can generate, and that the integration of sport with community development helps to overcome inequality and disadvantage. There is one team of young players that Pele watches very closely: Brazil. During the lead-up to significant tournaments when Brazil are preparing, Pele is usually there. Naturally, he loves Brazil and he keeps an eye on players' form, understanding who they will be up against in opposing teams. But sometimes he's called on as a mentor. Ronaldo's career bears similarities to Pele's. He burst onto the scene at just 17 and went on to World Cup glory. And, like Pele, he suffered serious injury. He ruptured a tendon in his right knee during a match with his Italian side, Inter Milan. Despite the best medical attention and intensive physiotherapy, it looked like the injury would finish his career, and Ronaldo was losing hope.
Realmente, passei a acreditar mesmo na minha recuperação, talvez depois que o Pelé, né, teve na minha casa e que me comentava sobre uma lesão que ele teve em 1966 e que muitos médicos ameaçaram a carreira dele, dizendo que não poderia mais voltar a jogar futebol. E ele ficou 1 ano e 6 meses recuperando e retornou bem e ainda ganhou o Mundial de 70. E essas histórias realmente me motivaram, essa principalmente me motivou para eu não desistir e para eu continuar lutando para recuperar.
Pele convinced Ronaldo a complete recovery was possible.
Se fizer um bom trabalho com ele, não forçar a obrigá-lo a ser o Ronaldinho, a ser um Pelé, ou a ser um Maradona, ou a ser quem for. Se não obrigar, deixar ele jogar normalmente, eu acho que ele volta a jogar o seu futebol.
He did, and went on to win the FIFA Player of the Year award for a second time. The lead-up to the Beijing Olympics saw Pele at the Forbidden City. Rio de Janeiro was in the running to become the host city for the 2016 Olympics, and Pele was in Beijing as goodwill ambassador, lobbying his capital's proposal.
It's a big responsibility for me to represent all the players, all the sports players in the world, and to be here to congratulate those heroes, those boys, and congratulate also the big success from the Olympics here. This means a lot for me. And then I take this opportunity to ask to you, Rio de Janeiro, wait you for 2016.
The International Olympic Committee had shortlisted Rio along with Chicago, Madrid, and Tokyo. Because the Summer Games had never been held in South America, people believed it was Rio's turn, but the city was leaving nothing to chance. Pele was the Rio proposal's secret weapon.
Para meus amigos brasileiros, é uma responsabilidade muito grande estar aqui representando o nosso Brasil, lutando para conseguir a Olimpíada para o Rio de Janeiro, se Deus quiser, não só para o Rio de Janeiro, para o Brasil, mas para toda a América do Sul. Se Deus quiser, nós vamos conseguir. Começamos com a luta aqui e vamos seguir em frente. E eu fico feliz porque vocês veem que ainda o povo todo me respeita, depois de todo o tempo que eu parei de jogar futebol. E eu espero não decepcionar. E se Deus quiser, nós vamos chegar lá. Obrigado.
At another press conference during the Beijing Games, Pele was back with a team and a slick presentation. Rio had tried for the Games in 1936, in 2004, and in 2012. And there was a feeling of inevitability building around this proposal. Having recently hosted the Pan American Games, Rio already had much of the sporting infrastructure in place, and the country's rapidly expanding economy meant that an Olympic budget was well within reach. It's impossible to underestimate Pele's contribution. His charm and easy wit continue to endear him to the press.
My time, professional could not be in Olympics, unfortunately. And with the respect of all the Brazilian, if I was there, Brazil will have the medal.
These days, presidents and prime ministers are happy to be seen with the man that retains the aura of the most skilled football player ever. His standing continues to grow through the responsible use of his popularity to advance concerns about underprivileged children and the environment. Rio de Janeiro won the 2016 Olympic bid, and Brazil will also be hosting the 2014 World Cup. This man, the king of football, will continue to remain at the heart of world sport. 1,280 goals, 3 World Cups, top goal scorer in the Campeonato Paulista 11 times, 9 in consecutive years, 31 team trophies, FIFA World Cup Golden Ball, and the best player who has ever played the beautiful game.